Hey everyone, I'm Gavin.
And I'm Dave.
And welcome to episode 7 of Lowlights. So we've got an incredible episode for you all today. We're really excited to be joined by the one and only Leland Melvin, who, after retiring from his brief career in the NFL, decided of all things to become a NASA astronaut. So we're going to get into a flex, which we'll fully discuss with him a little bit later. Before we get into the episode, I want to say a brief word about the audio and like some of the connectivity you might hear during the interview. I know I said last week that my internet was going to be better from here on out. I was traveling this week. Dave was traveling this week. I had to record on my phone. It was a whole thing. We promise that we're working on it. Next week will be better. And the week after that will be even better. We're taking it day by day, week by week, episode by episode, segment by segment. So we appreciate your patience and bearing with us.
Gavin, would you say that we had our own lowlights in this past week?
I wouldn't just say it. I think I've said it 20 million times already.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you all for bearing with us. You all are the most incredible listeners. And despite all of the audio issues that you may or may not hear, honestly, because shout out to our editors who handle all of the post-production, who do all of their, I was going to say movie magic. I don't know if it's called movie magic or I don't know what you call it, audio magic or what, but we got some of the best in the business, and I know they work very hard to make us sound better than we actually sound. So I think they actually, if you're listening to the episode, hopefully it actually won't sound too bad. But in case you hear any delays or blips, or if my audio doesn't sound as good as it should, just know that that's why. But enough of that. Before I turn over to Dave to talk about, you guessed it, the Boston Celtics, just wanted to point out that we're not going to do spotlights this week. So it's just going to be highlights and lowlights, and then we'll be back next week. But without further ado, Dave, talk to us. How you doing? Still smiling.
I'm still, yeah, exactly.
You've had some time to process, right?
Exactly. Well, I'm smiling because it happened, not crying because it's over, Gavin.
Right.
No, actually, so my friend Dave Kennert, shout out David Kennert, he texted me that he started laughing and then felt like crying because he listened to one of the earlier episodes where before the playoffs I was like, Gavin, when it comes to the Celtics in this playoff run, I just want us to stay healthy. If we stay healthy, I feel good about our chances.
I remember that.
And little did I know that while Jason Tatum was tearing his Achilles, also Jaylen Brown had torn ligaments in his knee, and Kristaps Porzingis could barely breathe because he had a respiratory illness, and it just felt like, okay, it's a little much. Once your superstar goes down, it's you don't need the other guys, the second and third or fourth best player on the roster to also get hurt. So anyway, again, I've said before, nobody wants to feel bad for a Celtics fan. I got to watch this team win a championship. It was incredible. And I'm sad that this is how it seems to have ended for this roster. But they just clearly were by the end of that series. And again, credit to the Knicks. And I will say Knicks fans were actually fairly classy after the Tatum injury. There were a lot of them who were saying very nice things on social media, and I was impressed by that. And it is what it is. The Knicks played better than the Celtics, and it was a crappy series in a crappy way that this team had to go down. But it happens in sports. I got to see them win last year. I'm okay. I assume next season will not be very much fun as a Celtics fan, but who knows? That's enough about the Celtics.
Well, but go ahead.
No, I will say it's kind of cool that the last 4 teams standing, the Pacers, the Knicks, the Thunder, and the Wolves, you have 3 teams that have never won. And then the Knicks, who haven't won in 50 years. So that's a cool, it's good for the league, I think, that the final
since
4
the last
teams.
time, Jalen Brunson's dad was on the team, I heard.
Yeah. So it's good for the league. Good for the league.
Yeah. Well, What I was going to say is, if you are a member of the Boston Celtics basketball team and you're listening to this, you're probably going through a low light right now. So just call us, DM us, drop a comment, have your agent call us. Let's make some lemonade out of lemons.
Exactly. All right, enough of that. And now we'll get into the rest of the episode, which we recorded before.
All right, so that's our NBA update. Let's talk NFL. But before we do, I mentioned last week during highlights that I went on a road trip down the Eastern Seaboard. As an update, I'm here in New York City. I was in Atlanta last week. Flew up to New York. I'm here for the foreseeable future. So if any of our listeners will find themselves in the city this summer, drop me a line, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. But anyway,
shout out Queens. Shout out Queens.
Shout out Queens. I'm staying this lovely Airbnb in Queens, so hit me up if you're nearby. And fortunately, my Wi-Fi is much better than it was when we were trying to record some of our past couple episodes. So we should be in a much better place now.
You should not even say that, Kevin. I hope you were crossing your fingers when you were saying that.
And my toes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the NFL. Last Wednesday, Dave, we got something we've been waiting for a very long time, which was the release of the 2025-2026 NFL season. So, the NFL coins, this day, schedule release day. To me, I don't know. There's a lot of hype and like a build up to it, but schedule releases aren't really that much of a surprise. The reason being, the league announces the home and away opponents for each team well in advance. So really all that we find out on schedule release day is like who each team is playing and when and where. And I think what's interesting though, the when, what you get on schedule release day is okay, like week by week, here's who each team is playing. And, it's notable because we finally get to see, which games are going to be in prime time. And, the analysts have already been, having a field day on Twitter talking about, our favorite, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Is it Dove?
Oh, God. Dove Kleinman.
Dove Klein. Yeah, whatever his name is. How could the NFL, not put the Titans or the Browns on prime time? What a mistake. Terrible.
Not on prime time. And I'm like, you mean on the Browns bench when
literally
you want
right.
the third string quarterback to be on television?
Right. No, 100%. And I think maybe it'd be cool to see the Titans, in prime time and see Cam Ward, the number one draft pick from this year, see how he's playing. But I could say, having worked for the NFL, I was sort of, I can't say it was a part of the schedule formulation, but it was cool learning about and seeing and hearing sort of how the schedule is put together. And what I do know is that the league spends a lot of time thinking about, what games fans would most want to see. And they also build in some flexibility such that if once the season gets going, it's clear that a team, is doing a lot better than we thought, maybe a particular player like just becomes a star, or on the other hand, a team that maybe we had big expectations for, like the Jets. I guess that was 2 seasons ago. Good example. Aaron Rodgers was coming in, and I'm sure the Jets had like a number of primetime billings, and then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt a few minutes into the first game of the season and is out for the whole year. So the NFL is able to flex up games if it's like, okay, this team might be one that all of America should see, or flex down games if they realize through the course of the season, actually, this game probably wouldn't be as interesting. So, so I wouldn't buy into that hype too much. What I thought was cool, and this kind of ties back to our conversation with Oliver Luck earlier. I guess I don't know how many episodes ago that was by now, but something we talked about with Oliver was all the work that he did in building NFL Europe and the seeds that he planted, which are now finally starting to, take fruit and blossom and bloom. So what we saw on last Wednesday when the NFL released the schedule was that, by my count, 7 games that are going to be played internationally in this upcoming season, and not just in London or in Mexico City, where the league has been playing recently, but games in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and Dublin, Ireland, and Berlin, Germany, and Madrid, Spain, and of course London. So those are always super fun. So keep an eye out for those games. And Maybe throw yourself a little watch party and cook up some tapas for the Madrid game, or some I don't know, what do they eat in Ireland?
Well, they drink Guinness. And then other than that, there's there's a lot of dishes that they have. Growing up in and around Boston, Gavin, you can imagine I've had a lot of Irish food. I will say corned beef, absolutely delicious. Good on the Irish for that. And they do a lot of things with potatoes. You might not be surprised to learn. So, they I'll give it to them. They got it going on.
Okay. Sounds good. And then the last thing I'll say about schedule release, highly encourage all of y'all to go on and watch some of the schedule release videos. So essentially, this is when the creative teams, the digital teams for like all of the teams across the league, it's like their Super Bowl, honestly, before the season even gets started. But they spend what I assume is, well, honestly, I was going to say weeks and months producing the video, but that's not true because I don't think they have much heads up before the schedule release as to who they're playing and when. So these creative teams, I guess, now that I think about it, have what might be up to a week, perhaps, to get their videos ready. And teams go in all sorts of different directions. One of my favorite videos was the Titans released one in 2023, where they pretty much went out to the streets of downtown Nashville and they asked random people walking by to identify the logos, of the teams that the Titans were slated to play each week. And if I remember correctly, they put up the Falcons logo at one point, and I think some fan was like, the red and black stallions.
Yeah,
it's just
what?
Yeah. The red stallions. It's like, okay.
Well, and the video every time it's like every logo that so they're like the Boston Bobcats, and then it's like, and then the video plays like shows like the Cincinnati Bengals logo, but it says above it the Boston Bobcats.
Yeah, I know. Good. It's gold. Yeah. And at the end, which I thought was just perfect, they put up the Titans logo, and of course every single person's like, oh, the Tennessee Titans. So I thought it was a really cute way to kind of get their fan base engaged and energized before the season. But there's some really funny videos that some other teams put out. A bunch of teams went in the Minecraft, at least the video game direction. So my Falcons did a Mario Kart sort of video, and I highly encourage everyone to watch that. There are a number of well-placed digs at Dave's New England Patriots. You like those, huh?
Well, look, I mean, I expect it, but at the same time, as I said to you in text, Kevin, I'm not sure that the Falcons want that smoke. Of all organizations in the NFL, for the Falcons to be poking and seeing if they're going to get a response, not the Patriots, given the history here. I think I can think of at least 28 reasons why they might not want to start poking the Patriots, Kevin.
Okay. Good one. But you should watch that video for those who haven't. Watch the Patriot. I mean, I don't want to air your secrets here, but before we hopped on, you were saying that you were a little bit underwhelmed by the video that you guys put out.
Oh yeah, I mean it was fine. And the hard thing is the Titans started this trend, I think.
I know.
With a video that's like as you were describing, it's so fun and it's original and it's wholesome because it's just random people on the street who don't know anything about the NFL, and that's the joke. Whereas once you start, once it becomes this thing where you're trying to one up other teams, and the Patriots got Dave Portnoy to do theirs and this year, and read it in a press conference, it's fine. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like it takes an idea that started out really fun and original, and it makes it a little bit more just sort of corporate and forced. So whatever, it's fine. Well, look, I will say, just as an aside here, you and I were speechwriters, and the hardest speeches every year to write are the comedy speeches, like the White House Correspondents' Dinner or the Gridiron, or in Massachusetts, St. Patrick's Day breakfast, because you take political speechwriters who write all day about infrastructure and healthcare and climate change and whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, turn into comedy writers. That's really hard. Comedy writing is really hard. And there are people who do that as their full-time career who are the ones who should do that. And so I just feel like I definitely empathize with the comm staffers or whoever is on these NFL teams, who's having to make these videos and write these scripts.
I know.
It's really hard.
Especially when your attempt at being funny gets you burned. Shout out Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and again,
yeah,
whatever. They made fun of Tyreek Hill, who's a wide receiver on the Miami Dolphins, and they took their video down after a couple hours, and even he posted on social media like, "Why did you guys do that? That was funny."
He was like, "I thought it was funny."
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, no, that's a challenge with it. But yeah, Dave,
well,
talk to me about what you've been up to or what you've been looking at besides the Celtics.
Besides, oh gosh, but yeah, I think I've been traveling, so I'm here with Alyssa's parents this week in Philadelphia because we're in Philly. And Philly's a great town. So much cheaper than Boston. It's upsetting to me how much cheaper it is than Boston, actually. I won't bore all of you with my thoughts about this issue, but just suffice to say it's very frustrating as a proud Bay Stater to come down to Pennsylvania and look at housing prices and the cost of food down there. It's crazy. But I will say, switching from the NFL to the world of baseball.
Yeah.
So I actually noticed one of the biggest pet peeves. So I've always been a baseball guy. I grew up a few blocks from Fenway Park. I played baseball. It's the sport that I was far and away best at. I was not very good at basketball.
Wow, I was about to say, low bar.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Actually, I'm a good defender in basketball. I can defend really well. I do not have a good shot. And also my mom wouldn't let me play football and
right. Same here. You and me both.
Probably good on them.
Right.
Good choices. But, and I same with hockey. So baseball was the sport that I was good at. I always loved baseball. And my whole life, everybody's been saying like, "Oh, baseball's dying. Baseball." No, I don't know anybody that watches baseball. Baseball's super boring. And it's funny to me because literally since the 19th century, you can find newspaper columns about how baseball's dying. Kids these days don't appreciate baseball the way that they used to. And back in my day, people used to watch baseball. Nobody cares about baseball anymore. And in fact, that's just never been the case. Like, yes, baseball at various times was bigger, of course. Like it was the national sport in the 1930s,
America's
40s,
pastime.
50s. America's pastime in a way that I think the NFL is now. But it's people are always surprised when I tell them that Major League Baseball is still the second biggest professional sports league in the world to the NFL. And they're like, well, not including soccer. Yes, including soccer, including the English Premiership, including La Liga, including whatever the Bundesliga in Germany, whatever you want to include. Major League Baseball has the second highest revenue of any professional sports team or professional sports league. And so I sent you this week, Kevin, a release by Major League Baseball Communications. So last week on Wednesday they had 501,000 people at baseball games across the country. I think there were like 16 games. 501,000 people were attending a Major League Baseball game. And side note, two Major League teams for different reasons are playing in minor league stadiums, which are smaller than a regular stadium, of course. And so, right. So the no-name Athletics, because of a ridiculous dispute, the Oakland Athletics are a historic baseball franchise. I mean, they started in Philadelphia, but they're a historic franchise that should still be in Oakland.
Won a ton of World Series, right?
Won a bunch of World Series in the 70s. Won again in the late 80s. They're just a classic franchise. Ricky Henderson, Jose Canseco, Mark McGwire, Dave Stewart, Reggie Jackson, you name it. I mean, one of the great franchises in baseball history has now left Oakland, which is upsetting. But anyway, and the Tampa Bay Rays, their stadium, they lost their roof in the hurricane last fall, and so they have to play in a minor league stadium. But anyway, so they set the record last week. Major League Baseball set the record. That's the most number of people that have ever attended the largest single day in April or May in Major League Baseball history is the statistic.
It's a very specific stat, but
Very
Cool.
specific.
Yeah.
Very specific. But I think it just goes to show that whenever people tell me, look, I'm not saying that baseball could never decline in popularity. I'm not saying that it's as popular as the NFL. I'm
It's
just
not.
saying that again, I get that. But it's just, I think it's funny how certain people are that nobody watches baseball that I talk to in my day-to-day life. And yet the evidence shows that that's just not the case. And part of that, of course, is that each team plays 162 games in the regular season. So there's just more people going to games, but people are still going to those games. And so anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
No, and then, I'm an NFL. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, this is also a way of me not talking about the Red Sox, who I still have faith in. They have had a rough start to the season, but I think a lot of it is honestly just bad luck, and I think that I think they're going to be fine over the course of the rest of the season. So I'm not concerned about the Red Sox. For the record, putting this on the record
can we quote you on that?
You can quote me on that. I am not concerned about the Red Sox. I don't think they're going to win the World Series, but I think they're a good team.
Where did your Red Sox pendant go, Dave? Behind you. I'm kidding.
Right.
Took it down already?
Exactly.
I'm kidding. Probably can't put one of those up in Philadelphia, is my guess.
no, they would find me. It would be a problem.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm an NFL guy, not necessarily an MLB guy, but I do love going to MLB games. And what I appreciate about MLB games is that they're usually a lot cheaper than NFL games. I mean, it might not be like super close to the field, but like you can go up in the rafters, still see just fine and not break the bank. So, and the experiences are always super fun. Like, again, like I'm not like a huge baseball person. I don't follow the players like you do. I don't follow the game like you do. But when I go to a baseball game, I have a great time. I go with friends, we have some good food, some good drinks. And, I see why people call it America's pastime. Like it's a great time. Especially in the summertime, so many great memories. So there was the Braves in Atlanta or the Nats. Yeah, great time.
No question.
But I do want to shift gears a little bit to the NHL. The playoffs are still going on, and actually, when I got stranded, I don't think I fully told the story last week. I'm not going to now, but when I got stranded in Kannapolis, North Carolina, which is a suburb of Charlotte, I couldn't make it all the way to Charlotte because I got caught in storms, which I don't know what it is about the state of North Carolina, but I don't think I've ever driven through the state of North Carolina without getting caught in a thunderstorm in the summer. So that is just a beef I'll have to take up with North Carolina at a later date. But I got stranded in this hotel in Kannapolis, North Carolina, and I did put on, it was the Oilers playing they called it the Golden Knights, right?
Yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I really enjoyed watching it. So just shout out NHL for that. Playoffs are still going on, but there was a big update that we got, Dave. I think it was I can't remember exactly what day it was, but last week or the week before. And it was that the NHL team that was then called the Utah Hockey Club, because they moved. They were the Arizona Coyotes. Ryan Smith, who's like the Qualtrics billionaire, who also owns the Utah Jazz, bought the team, moved them to Utah, to Salt Lake City. And similar to what happened when, the Washington football team was known as the Washington football team, in between being known as the Redskins and the Commanders, they had this in-between name. So was the case with the Utah Hockey Club. Ryan Smith wanted to make the process as democratic as possible, wants to get the fans involved and, engage in the whole process. And so I think I don't know if they used Qualtrics surveys for this, but I want to say there was a good amount of fan input into selecting the name of the team. They picked the Utah Mammoth, not Mammoths. And we're going somewhere with this, but not Mammoths, but Mammoth. And I heard Ryan Smith talking on Pat McAfee's podcast. I think very intentional about keeping that a singular noun. The Mammoth, they're one. They're united as the city, or maybe even as the state. So, Dave, on this note, I have a little trivia question for you.
Oh no.
Dave, in the 4 major sports leagues, can you name the teams that are singular, not plural?
Okay, it's an important question. Do the Red Sox and the White Sox count? No, because they spell it with an X, but that's implying multiple socks, right?
You're correct.
Okay.
We're not counting.
Okay.
Those.
Okay, I can do this. Kevin, can you give me the Utah Mammoth? Does that count?
You insist.
Yeah, okay, that counts.
That does count.
All right. Okay, let's try to do this league by league.
Okay.
In the NHL, can you give me the Colorado Avalanche?
Okay, I can give you the Colorado Avalanche. Nice.
Okay. The Tampa Bay Lightning.
Good. Okay.
The Seattle Kraken.
Nice.
All right.
And there you go. There's one more NHL team.
Okay, I can do this.
Okay, yes, you can.
I know. Whalers, the Flames,
Yep, those end in S.
Maple Leafs, Canadiens, Rangers, Islanders, Devils.
Are you going like conference by conference, division by division?
Yeah, I'm sort of going geographically.
Yeah.
So Panthers, I want a Hurricane.
Let me know when you want a hint.
Hurricanes. The Nashville Predators.
That's an S.
We'll go Blackhawks. Stars. Oh, the Minnesota Wild.
There you go.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Those are the 5 NHL teams that are singular, not plural.
Okay.
So you got the Utah Mammoth, the Tampa Bay Lightning, Colorado Avalanche, Seattle Kraken, Minnesota Wild. Okay. And there are 4 more.
All right. In the NBA, there are the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yep.
There are the Miami Heat.
Good. 2 more.
Are there in the NBA?
Total.
Yes, but are they in the NBA? Oh, the Utah Jazz.
And there's 1 more. Stay in the NBA, Dave.
Grizzlies, the Matthews Falls. Wow.
Do you believe in?
Oh, the Orlando Magic.
There you go.
Great. I was gonna get there.
I knew you were.
All right. Yeah. Good job. Good
dice work. You got them all. You got them all.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Yeah. I feel like I would have, if you'd asked me to just like guess how many teams were singular before doing that, I would have gone low. I would have been like, oh, there's probably only a couple.
But did you realize that there are no teams in the MLB or the NFL that don't end in S?
I think I did.
Did you think about that?
Mm-hmm. I think I did only because once I knew that Sox didn't count, it was sort of like we don't have. I mean, also like baseball teams are so old. Like most teams in baseball have been around for a long time, and there's a few exceptions, of course. The Rays, Diamondbacks. But like most teams just wouldn't have done that because they're too old for that. Like I feel like it's the same thing like in the NFL, right? Because like the Packers, the Giants, the Rams, like all those team names have been around for so long that I thought people weren't like marketing consultants in the 1940s weren't like instead of being the Chicago Bears, why don't you be the Bear? Why don't you? Why don't you just
city, Chicago?
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel like that wasn't happening. All right, good game.
Cool. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, so should we introduce our guest for this week, Dave?
Let's do it.
Do you want to, or do you want me to do the honors?
Well, I think I'm gonna turn it over to you, but I think our guest is somebody that a lot of people who are watching or listening to us might not, if they read his name, they will think to themselves, I don't know who that is. Probably. He is, one of the most impressive people, I would say, arguably in the country, because I believe he is the only person given who was both drafted in the NFL and has been in space as an astronaut. Yeah. So that is a crazy combination right away. But the reason that many of you listening or watching to us will be aware of Leland is because you have probably seen a picture of him. And that
not just of him. Not just of him.
Not just of him. That is because he'll get into this story, but that photo And when I say that photo, I mean that photo of Leland smiling ear to ear with two dogs right in his face was his profile picture at NASA.
His two dogs
on the cover of his book.
His two dogs. Yes.
His two dogs. And it's incredible. If you haven't seen it, obviously, I hope you Google it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't realize that was Leland. But I've been seeing that picture for years.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And there's not too much more I want to add, because the more I talk, the longer you have to wait to hear from Leland. And I don't want you to have to wait to hear from Leland. But I'll just say, Leland was a standout wide receiver at University of Richmond. And then, like you said, Dave, he got drafted. He got drafted by the Lions, in 1986. He actually ended up pulling his hamstring, during training camp. So he was released from the team, and he ended up reporting to the Cowboys the following spring, but then he pulled his hamstring again, and that brought his NFL career to an end. And most people, would probably just hang it up at that point, maybe become a used car salesman or something. But Leland said, no, I'm going to go to space and become an astronaut. And that's what he did. So get ready to hear an interview, which, Dave, I don't know about you, but I think was pretty out of this world.
Oh, God. Never mind. This podcast is canceled.
You don't want more dad jokes?
Yeah. No, it's true. Always. No, but it's great. He's so much wisdom, and you'll hear in the episode.
Yeah.
I encourage you to listen to all of it if you can.
Yeah.
I think Leland, of all people, we've talked to, has, among the best. Just you'll hear, he has an incredible ability to stay positive despite challenges and real setbacks that he faced in his life, and tragedies even.
Absolutely.
Losing a lot of his friends in the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster. So
yeah,
I encourage you to listen to all of it.
All right, let's blast off. Leland Melvin, welcome to Lowlights. Your reputation certainly precedes you. This is the special one for Dave and me. I mean, we've had on few guests by now, but I don't think any of them have been to space before, nor will any of the guests that we'll have after you, which is just insane. So we're so excited to have you. We're going to get into your story, Leland. We're going to hear about your path to the NFL, your journey, your literal journey to outer space, and that all the incredible things that you've been up to since then. I think just to sort of contextualize, Leland, your greatness. So obviously, getting drafted to the NFL is a feat in and of itself. I could share a whole bunch of crazy stats of how few people who start out playing high school football make it to college football, and how many of those people make it to the NFL. But let's talk about NASA. So last month, NASA received more than 18,000 applications to the astronaut program. 12 got selected. That's, get ready, 0.07%. So
wow,
we are in the presence, in the digital, in the virtual,
the best of the best of the best of the best.
0.07% greatness. So, Leland, it is such an honor to have you on.
Well, hey, it's great to be here with both of you guys, and it's so good that when I applied to the Astronaut Corps, there were only 2,500 people that applied versus 18,000. So,
great.
A bit bigger, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So no sweat. Oh, so that's not even impressive. Yeah.
Right. But Leland, we want to just get right into this, and hoping you can start by taking us back in time a little bit. So you're from Virginia. I'm from Georgia. You Southerners here. Talk to us about when you were a child. Were you always interested in becoming an astronaut? Were you interested in becoming a football player? When I talk to kids, I feel like most people either say they want to be an astronaut or a football player, and you did both. Right. Yeah. So what was going on in your house, at school? What were the influences in your life that you think led you to go on to the amazing things that you've done?
Right. No, thank you guys. There were three things that led up to me playing sports and also thinking about being an astronaut. And it was, my mother read to me every night the book, The Little Engine That Could. So I had this mantra that I think I can. No matter what happens, I think I can. And then she read to me Curious George. And the thing about Curious George is he went to space, he got the big wheel, he did all these different things. But the one thing he always had was the man in the yellow hat. No matter what trouble he got in, no matter what happened, the man in the yellow hat had his back. And so throughout my life, throughout my childhood, my journey, I've always had this one person or two people or whatever it was that no matter what I did, they had my back. Whether I got in trouble, whether it was celebrating my victories or whatever, those were the two books that gave me that foundational thought that I could do anything I put my mind to if I had the right people around me. And so those two books, and then I was 5 years old when Neil and Buzz walked on the moon. And I was the kid holding the rabbit ears on the black and white Sylvania television set behind it. So my dad is like, hey, take your right hand and bring it down 30 degrees and stop. And I'm trying to look around the TV. No, don't move. You're right there. And my sister, my mom and dad are watching this, this pivotal moment in our history, the thing that humans, the most incredible thing that humans ever done. And I can't watch it. I'm just like they're stiff, holding the antennas. The next day we got to play, with the kids and all the kids that want to be Neil and Buzz and want to be astronauts. I'm like, I don't want to be either one of those guys. There's one, they didn't look like me. They had crew cuts. I don't want to be those guys. And two, I never saw the transmission, so I didn't even know what it looked like. And it was just kind of crazy. And so they were, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, well, Arthur Ashe trained 5 blocks down the street from where I grew up. I want to be Arthur Ashe. So I started taking tennis lessons. And I get pretty good. I played, first seed in high school and all this stuff, but I wanted to go on a tennis scholarship. I didn't want to play football. Football was something that you just did in our community. Like you played football, you played basketball, and I played tennis. Most guys ran track. So it was like a 3-letter thing. But, this moon landing thing was pivotal because it set this bit in me to say, you're going to be a tennis player. It gets far away from being an astronaut and playing football, but it was a journey in trying to have the discipline. You're practicing every summer. I practice every day on the public tennis courts, and we battled, we played. And that's what gave me that skill to believe that, the man in yellow hat said you can do this, but also that rigor of the joy of repetition to get you to be perfect. And then my mother, she came home with this present for me. It was a chemistry set, age inappropriate, non-OSHA certified. And I blew her living room up. I mixed these chemicals together and blew her living room up. And that was like, wow, I could be a scientist, My eyes were, like wide and, smoke and flames. And then my mom walks up to me and she teaches me physics at the same time. I learned chemistry. I love physics. Force is equals mass times acceleration, where she launches my butt across her room with her hand. Her force accelerated mass. And I was like up in the air. She was so pissed because they were school teachers and we had a lot of money. So, burning a hole in the carpet of especially a black woman and, in the South, bam, bam, So anyway, I started, football was fun. I dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone my high school football game. And I played on a running team, so I didn't really get the ball thrown to me that much. I was blocking most of the time. And this night that we were playing was my homecoming game, and there was a scout from the University of Richmond there. Morgan Hout was there to see if I could play for the Spiders. And so I dropped the pass. I go to the sideline. My coach grabs my face mask and waiting to be benched, but he says, I believe in you. Go back out there, run the same play, but this time catch the daggone ball. So I catch the ball. I'm in the end zone, doing a little dance, and this scout comes back in the end zone. He comes back into the stadium because he walked out of the stadium when I dropped the first pass, and he saw me in the end zone with the ball. He said, well, he didn't give up. That one catch, guys, resulted in a $180,000 scholarship to the University of Richmond because I had a man in the yellow hat who was my coach who believed in me. I didn't believe in myself. And so, again, those early lessons were very critical for all of my development, from whether, going to play at the University of Richmond to then, being an all-leading receiver there and then getting into the, Hall of Fame, but also getting drafted to the Detroit Lions out of there while majoring in chemistry.
Right.
And yeah, Yeah. So those, those moments, those foundational moments were really critical. Go ahead, ask a question. You want to say?
No, I mean, it's just even in that description that you've given us, Leland, that's right there. You have that low light, that potential failure moment where you drop a pass in the end zone, and if that coach, to just stay on that moment for a second, if that coach had grabbed your face mask and said, "You're out of the game. I only want players who can catch the ball," I mean, it really does feel like, there's like a movie from the 90s, like Sliding Doors, about, what happens if somebody had missed a train versus gotten on the train. Here was a moment that could have changed, your entire life. So have you thought about that over time? I mean, have you reflected on what would have happened if you really hadn't caught that pass?
All the time. Or no, not caught the pass, but given the second chance to catch the pass.
You're right, exactly. If you hadn't gotten the second chance to come back and gotten that catch.
Because, I mean, when I was running down the sideline, I was like praying, "Lord, please let me catch this ball." And I knew that I was going to catch it because I was given that second chance, because I didn't believe in myself when I dropped the first pass, but this person believed in me enough to give me another shot. So, and that's the title of my book, Chasing Space, an astronaut's story of grit, grace, and second chances. Having the grit, but getting the second chance to do these things. And, I saw my coach in Home Depot probably like, a year or two ago, and he says, "Good job. You caught that ball."
Yeah. Good thing for you that you did, of course. Good thing for him. To give you that chance. But so you get to the University of Richmond, you don't just catch one touchdown pass, you catch a bunch of touchdown passes. You absolutely show out during your college career as a wide receiver. So, before we get to your post-playing career, which is incredible in its own right, what was it like to get drafted? What was it like to all of a sudden go from, that guy who wasn't sure you were going to get a second chance in high school, and all of a sudden here you are in the NFL, and with the Detroit Lions? I mean, did you feel like at that point you'd made it, like you'd achieved your dream, or, what was it like for you?
Well, Dave, I never had a dream of playing in the NFL, so it wasn't a dream. It was one of these things that, it's just like, you put in the work, you go out and do your, you do your thing, you catch the balls, you block, you do whatever you have to do. And then in the end, because we went from 0-10 my freshman year, we didn't win one game. 0-10, 3-8, 8-5 in playoffs. And then senior year, we did well, went to the playoffs also. So that brought the scouts to Richmond to take a look at me, because, we transformed this team. And even my freshman year, 0-10, I was kicked out of school for allegedly cheating my freshman year. And you talk about a low light. We were 0-10. This guy who I was tutoring, he was a football chemistry. He wasn't a chemistry major, but he was taking football chemistry, and I was taking chemistry for majors. So he wanted me to help tutor him because he needed to get a C on his final to graduate. I needed a B to get a C to graduate, as a senior. He was graduating early. And so I was tutoring him. He comes in the room. We're in the room together. We're talking. We're celebrating his win, his getting the B. And his girlfriend walks in, who was had the same professor as I did. And she started telling me what was on the final, And so I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, okay." Until he turns both of us in for cheating. And so I get kicked out of school, go to the honor council, get kicked out of school. I'm sitting, waiting, talking to my dad, just thinking about, I'm going to have to drive and pack my car up and leave the university. And I get a phone call on the payphone in the dorm. No cell phone, payphone in the dorm. Someone says, "Leland, Professor Myers is on the phone." So I go over there, pick the phone up. He says, "Come see me right now." Because I'm already kicked out. So I'm processing to get out of school. He heard what happened, called me to his office. He said, "Look, there's no way you could have cheated on my final. I'm going to get you back into school. You have to do research for me as a freshman until you graduate. That's your penance, right? And just keep performing." So I got a second chance right there. And that's why my chemistry, I was just, laser beam focused to honor this guy who took a chance on me. And, in chemistry lab, anyway, so long story short, I was motivated to do well in both of those pieces because I was given a second chance. So the night of the college draft, I'm sitting in my room. It's about maybe 11:30, close to 12 o'clock. I was 11th round draft choice to the Lions when they had 12 rounds. So I was like, we're pretty much a free agent, And I get the call. This guy named Tubby, he was a scout. He said, Leland, we want to draft you to the Lions in the 11th round. You're interested in coming? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come. Yeah, thank you. So I started screaming and celebrating. And some of the guys that were on the team, they were in rooms around me. So we were like high-fiving and chest bumping and stuff. And went to a little mini camp before I graduated from Richmond. And I caught a couple of passes, and they ended the whole session with me catching a touchdown pass on one of the starting defensive backs. And so, they said, okay, we've seen enough, and just felt great. Graduated from Richmond, then went back to training camp. And, that was eye-opening, because it's all about, you have to do all your conditioning before you come. Not like in college when you come in and you get in shape when you're there also. So, pulled a hamstring my second week in training camp, and the coach, the trainer saw me pull it, and so I started doing rehab and everything. And then Daryl Rogers, who was the head coach at the time, I think Wayne Fonts was the defensive coordinator. The head coach said, "Look, you guys are shamming. You guys are, you're falling like flies, and I know some of you are dogging it, trying to get on the injured reserve squad." So I thought he was talking to me too, but he wasn't really talking to me because the trainer had already identified that I had a legitimate injury. So I tried to get back out there, and once you're on the film, if you're not 100%, you get cut. So I got cut the final cut at Detroit, and then went and started driving as a courier for my agent. Went to Toronto Argonauts for a couple of minutes, and then my agent said, "Hey, Detroit Lions wants to sign you for the next season." Dallas Cowboys. They want to sign you for the next season. So, I ended up starting graduate school at University of Virginia in materials science engineering. And then when I left to go in March to training camp in Dallas, our online learning was VHS video cassettes mailed by FedEx to Valley Ranch. I'm like, how am I going to do this? So by day, I'm catching footballs with Danny White and Steve Pallur and all these guys. And at night, I'm watching material science engineering VHS video cassettes so I can take my 2 final exams in math for material science and electrochemistry. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And so I went out one morning.
Only you would have had to do that.
Yeah. Hey, little engine that could, I think I can, right? And people around me that said, you can do this. My professor at UVA was like, hey, we're going to make this work for you. You can do this, and they were really happy that, they had a graduate student that was studying still and playing football, for the NFL. So it was something good for everyone. And then I went out one morning with Danny White. And he was trying to keep his job at the time. So I said, Danny, I'm stretching. I need to run. If we're going to run anything, let's do a half speed 10-yard out. And so I line up. He's in there. And then he looks at the end of the field and he sees Tom Landry walking on the field with that head, he's in his like a jacket or something like, cool Tom Landry. And I see this whole thing playing out. I say, okay, I know he's going to do an audible. I can tell he's going to do an audible. Don't do the audible. I'm not stretched yet. And so he does the audible, take it to the barn. And as a rookie, I'm thinking, hey, if I don't do it, if I don't go for it, then Tom is there, Danny's there, I'm going to probably lose a shot. So I try to kick it in, running down the sideline. No crowd is screaming. They're just both watching me. Ball is hung. It's getting into the end zone. Perfect spiral. And I'm like, I'm looking at it. I'm trying to go for it and pull that left hamstring, the same one I pulled at Detroit Lions. And so that was pretty much the end of my football career. But, when I think about it, I kind of thank Danny White for helping me get to space, right? I mean, if I hadn't had that injury, I wouldn't have gone back to school to finish the master's at that point. And then what every former NFL player does, they go work for NASA. So I went to work for NASA and, but that was kind of the NFL journey, played some preseason games, got a little taste of it, but never made the final 45-man roster. And people always said, hey, you weren't really in the NFL. And then this one veteran told me, he said, look, if you get drafted into the NFL, you're in the NFL, you're an NFL player. Because we believe that, the Players Association believes in all people that come in, no matter what way they come in. And that felt pretty good. That felt pretty good. So That was the NFL journey.
Well, Leland, I mean, that's just incredible. I'm curious. So what was going through your head then when you were, going to training camp for the Lions, going to training camp for the Cowboys, you're doing your master's in Virginia. What did you have in mind as the end goal? Were you thinking, all right, if this NFL career doesn't work out, I'm going to go to space, or was it something else?
No, it was, my whole life has been this series of turns and pivots and things. And when you're in that moment, you try to get the best information that you can to make the next decision. But, I never imagined going to college, as a wide receiver on a running team, on a high school running team. But the opportunity presented itself. So, hey, it was free education. You're working hard to do these things. And it was a great opportunity that was presented to me. Same thing with the NFL. I mean, I got drafted. We started 0-10, all right? Goose egg and 10. I don't see a future in the NFL, starting out that way. And we, as a team, we turned it around. We get there. So starting graduate school was such a blessing. I mean, I wasn't planning to go to graduate school, in between the NFL and UVA, but this professor that taught me at University of Richmond, he said, look, get cut from the Lions. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm driving as a courier for my agent. He said, well, why don't you go talk to this professor at the University of Virginia, materials science, and see what he's got for you. And so I went up there and he said, look, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving as a courier. He said, well, if you come work for me in the electrochemistry lab, I'll pay you triple what you're getting as a courier. So that opened the door for some, monetary funds to come in. And then while I'm there, he's like, well, why don't you enroll in the master's program in January? And I'm like, well, I'm leaving to go play with the Cowboys, right? He says, yeah, but hey, you know what? Just enroll. And so this, again, no one would have imagined doing the lab work, getting ready to go to the NFL, but then even enrolling. So these people, these men and women in the yellow hat were there. Try that. And I said, okay, I'm open to it. Let's do it.
Yeah, but you listened to that because not everyone in your position would have necessarily listened to them.
Agreed.
And that is what I've learned. The little bit of wisdom I've learned in my six decades on this planet is that there are people that you might not even know that have the key to your success. It could be a janitor. It could be a used car salesman. It could be anyone who gives you this little kernel of knowledge, this little pearl of wisdom that you can use if you listen, if you take it in, if you write it down, to give you that opportunity to go to your next level. And I think kids sometimes, as a kid, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of things. And my dad, he taught me how to play sports, but he also taught me how to believe in yourself. And if you want something, you figure out how to make it. I wanted a skateboard. He didn't have the money to give it to me. So I went and got a piece of wood, went to the wood shop at Dunbar Middle School, cut out the board, got a paper route, and bought the trucks and the wheels. So I had a really nice skateboard from my own hard work. And I think that's the model that, a lot of kids need to see, that if you want something, there's a way to get it. If you believe in yourself and you go for it, you just gotta, let's go get it,
Well, that's such an important lesson. And I think it's, this is the reason why we wanted to have you on, because this message is one that not all of our young kids are hearing on a daily basis from the sources that they're tuning into. So I think we're also lucky to be able to have role models like you who have had this incredible career and have dedicated your life to sharing these lessons and inspiring the next generation of athletes, astronauts, and or athlete astronauts. So thank you for sharing that. But I think where we are in your story right now, you finished your master's degree, and then we know what comes next, or down the line, you go to space. Can you fill in the gap? I know there's a chance encounter of a NASA recruiter that you sort of ran into, and tell us the story.
So
Yeah.
I'm at Charlottesville at the Omni Hotel at a career fair, and I see the NASA booth there, and I look at it. I'm like, I ain't working for NASA. Just keep walking. I'm gonna make some money. I'm going to DuPont or Dow with my material science master's degree. Right? They pay pretty good, and I know NASA
Yeah.
does not pay well, right? So this woman comes from around the booth at the NASA booth. Her name is Rosa Webster. And she grabs my shoulder. She says, "What's your name?" I said, "Leland Melvin." She says, "I've been looking for you. You're going to work at NASA." I'm like, "No, I'm not." She's, and I didn't even realize it. And so so they were closing down the career fair, and she says, "Well, look, help me carry these pamphlets and books to my car." So I'm like, now I'm employed by her, taking things to her car. And she makes it so that I get a offer. She had on the spot authority to hire at UVA. And so in her mind, she had already hired me. And so I hadn't been down there to, see the facilities or anything. And I got a letter in the mail saying, "You are hired to this division at UVA, at NASA Langley." And I'm like, well, I wasn't doing that kind of research. So when I went down there, I went to another group that was doing some of the research that I was doing, and I worked for that group. But they said, "You can get your PhD. We'll send you back to school to get your PhD paid." So all these little benefits and things they were trying to tell me, but I was like, "But what about the money? What about the money?" And then it just worked out. She pointed me in that direction. I got there, ended up went back to grad school to get my PhD in mechanical engineering. I didn't finish it, but I went back because I knew that the timing wasn't right for me. And when I got back, I started this research program around fiber optic sensors. So we were making this optical fiber draw tower of optical fibers, all this stuff. And then this friend of mine says, "You'd be a great astronaut, Leland." I'm like, "What do you mean, me, an astronaut? Come on, that moon landing thing I was the antenna engineer. I didn't see that." So I don't apply. Got bugs in here somewhere. I don't apply, but this friend of mine applies, and he gets in. And I say, "Wait a minute, that knucklehead got in? How did he get in?" And so he can get in, I can get in. So I applied the next selection, and I got in. But the other part of that though was, while I was thinking about applying, my friend who got in flew from Houston back to NASA Langley in this sleek, beautiful T-38 jet, former military type jet. And the person flying in the front is John Young, who freaking walked on the moon. So I'm giving talk about my research to my buddy Charlie and John Young, who walked on the moon. And I start giving this talk, and we're using this to make measurements on the space shuttle and da-da-da. And the dude just falls asleep. John Young is like, just like out. And I say, "Man, do I keep going, Charlie? What do I do?" He said, "Just keep going, just keep going." So he wakes up and he says, "Leland, man, you're doing some great research. You should apply to NASA, be NASA astronaut. Charlie, let's get the hell out of here and get back to Houston." So they go to the jet, they fly back to Houston. I apply. I get to Houston for my interview, and the first person who greets me in my interview is John Young. And so he gives a little speech before I start talking to say, "Leland Melvin's doing great work at NASA Langley, helping us get to space safely." He talks like that, by the way. "And, you should listen to what he has to say because he's a good guy." So that's the way I started my interview, with John Young, who walked on the freaking moon, giving me my props, right? And so from that point on, it was smooth sailing. And I got into the Corps.
Well-
It was like, go ahead, Dave.
Well, no, I mean, so I didn't, but it was smooth sailing, but then all of a sudden it wasn't. And so even within this incredible highlight, you had a low light. So I'm wondering if you can take us through, I think this is where you were going, but can you take us through that as well?
Definitely. I was in Russia training, working with the first crew that going to the International Space Station. I came home from Russia. I did that for about 2 years after our initial training. And then it was time for me to do my more advanced training. And so we have this 5 million gallon pool called the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory that has a submerged space station and space shuttle. And you get in this white suit that looks like a cross between the Michelin Man and a Pillsbury Doughboy, but it's an EVA suit, extravehicular activity. So this suit is what you use to do spacewalks to build the space station or whatever you're doing. So I'm down in the pool, going about 20 feet down, and I realized that this little styrofoam block that you put in your helmet to help you, and these has these little prongs that you press your nose against to clear your ears. Well, if you're the kind of person that needs to squeeze to clear, that's the only way you can do it. But the technician forgot to put mine in. So I get down 20 feet. I tell the test director, hey, my Valsalva pad is not in the helmet. And can you turn the volume up in the headset? And from that point on, I heard nothing but static and white noise. And I feel myself starting to be raised out of the pool. I get to the pool deck. They take my helmet off. The doctor, the flight surgeon, is walking towards me. And he's talking, but I can't hear anything he's saying. So I'm like, why is this dude playing with me? And he touches my right ear. There's blood that's coming down the side of my face. I am completely deaf. Rush him to the hospital, emergency surgery. They go in, they look to see if I have something called my oval and circular windows are leaking fluid out. And they think that I've ruptured my circular windows from the inside, and they can't, but they say everything looks fine. So I'm medically disqualified to fly. Another man in the yellow hat comes to me, who is the head of NASA. He's the NASA administrator, Daniel Golden. He writes these notes to me. I have like probably 17 pages of legal pads of conversations I've had with people. One of them was him. He said, we never gave up on the Hubble Space Telescope. When it was deployed, the mirror was ground incorrectly, so every image came back blurry. We never gave up on Hubble. We fixed it. We will never give up on you. He gave me a picture, the first picture taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, the Eagle's Nest Nebula where stars are born. And so I'm like laying here deaf. People are coming in, writing notes to me. You're going to get through this. We believe in you, all this. And then one of the astronauts comes in. He's flown with 3-4 times. He says, you're never going to fly in space. Even if you regain your hearing, they're going to know why it happened, and they're not going to take a chance on you, because we have plenty of astronauts that have perfect hearing. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, maybe I'll be a photographer. I love photography. So I email this woman at Nat Geo, and I'm saying, how did you become a photographer? And I never hear back from her. So I'm like slamming my laptop shut. I'm crying. I'm depressed. I mean, it was one of the lowest lights in my life, very depressed, very sad. Even when my hearing started to come back in my right ear, only in the speaking frequencies, when they sent me home, I had to wear noise canceling headsets to block out the noise from the air conditioner handlers kicking on, because it's always hot in Houston. So every time something came on, it was like ice picks going in my head. And I never knew if I would ever get back to being normal, just to be able to function and hear with this one ear without pain, And so all of that started getting better. This ear got better, and no hearing over here. And then still medically disqualified. And I went to work in headquarters up in NASA, helping kids nominate their teachers to become astronauts. And that's something that I could do. I could inspire these kids, even though I wasn't flying, even though maybe I wasn't going to fly. And then, I'm up there, and I get a phone call from my education boss at the time at NASA headquarters. She says, what does it mean when the space shuttle is late? I said, what do you mean it's late? I says, well, is the countdown clock counting up? She said, yeah, it's counting up. And so in that moment, I knew that I just lost all of my friends who were on FTS 107, the space shuttle Columbia. Yeah. And so I was there to console the families, went to all the memorial services around the country. And Dave, when I met with one of my friend, David Brown, he was on the mission. When I met with his parents, his father said to me, my son is gone. There's nothing you can do to bring him back. But the biggest tragedy would be if we don't continue to fly in space to honor their legacy,
Wow.
And I'm thinking, how am I going to do that if I'm not flying? So I go to the memorial services. We fly on the NASA plane, taking off and landing. Every time we land, there's a person sitting beside me taking notes. I'm like, what is this guy doing? And so once we're done with the services, I'm ready to transition back to Houston to figure out what I'm going to do with my life as a non-flying astronaut. And this guy calls me in his office. He says, Leland, I've been watching you. I believe you can fly in space. I'm not going to put you back in the pool. You can function very well with this one ear with no hearing aids. So I'm going to give you a waiver to fly in space. And this guy was the chief of all the flight surgeons. His name was Rich Williams. And so I get
Man in the yellow hat.
All right. The man in the yellow hat. Bam, right? Get this get out of jail free card, go to Houston, get assigned to a mission, and when you get assigned to a mission, by the way, I know you guys, we talked about this earlier, you can bring your family in to take pictures when you have on your orange pumpkin suit. All of my family.
The photo. This is the photo.
All of my family was in Lynchburg, Virginia, but my doggy family was in Houston with me. So to get in there, I had this van and I had the stereo turned up. I had a friend holding the dogs in the back, pull up to the badge pass shop. And the guard is like, hey, you got to put your badge out here. I said, no, I'll just put it on the window. And I gunned it, got to the photo lab, ran the doors up the back steps, got in, 100 milk bones on the floor. The dogs are chomping. They're happy. Put the suit on. And as I'm walking to the seat, I tell the photographer to hold the shutter down on the camera and don't let it up. The dogs see me. They start running towards me. One comes up here. One is like, what's going on? And if you look at the picture closely, I have my hand down in my lap and there are two paws on my hands. We're in solidarity, ready to go to space. And they want to go too, right?
I mean, look, I have to add, I mean, it is crazy that, you've been in the NFL, you've been in space, you've done a thing that I feel like how often do people ask you about this photo? How many times a day? Like, is it every day that somebody asks you about this?
I mean, if I'm in a new place and there's something about space happening, and I come in my flight suit or, just, wait a minute, the dogs. You're the dog guy. Yeah. It's like that realization, and it's gone viral. I mean, there was a Reddit feed that went viral that was just crazy. And I got on it, I'm like, hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, wait a minute. You're the dogs. It's been good. It's been good. I mean, and the cool thing is, Dave and Gavin, when I published my memoir, the marketing team said, look, don't even think about any pictures. We got the picture. We already know the picture on being the cover of the book.
Of course.
Right. So, but anyway, but it's working out.
Well, it's such an incredible legacy because here you are, you've got all these moments in your life that themselves could be a movie. Like that you drop that touchdown pass could have been it for you. And then all of a sudden they put you back on the field. You catch the pass. Like, you have this terrible injury in the pool. That could be the end of your NASA career. And instead you overcome it. And it's so funny that the picture that's going to that defines you on your book, on your incredible book, is the photo with you and the dogs. But like, I think it says so much about you too, that like, here you are, you're smiling through it, like the world can get people down. The world can be a hard place and can be a harsh place. And you just talked about losing, tragically, your friends, these explorers who took this risk on behalf of humanity to explore space. And yet here you are, you're still going to try to rise above it. You're still going to try to smile through it. And I think that there's, if I may say so, a lesson there.
Grit,
yeah,
grace, and second chances. Living a life with grace, with grit, and getting that second chance. I mean, that there was another administration that used to practice that every day. The ones that you guys work with, right? I mean, that's what we do, man. We we keep going. Little engine that could it. We do it with grace and dignity and honor and civility, and we get a second chance.
Yeah.
We get a second chance, right?
That's what we're looking for. And, I think that plays in perfectly to why Gavin and I have started this. Part of the idea of this podcast is to reach young men, because, Gavin and I think that they're really struggling, and the studies show us that, the statistics tell us that. But I guess I was wondering, have you seen that? Do you agree with that? And do you have you have all of this advice, for young men, but in particular for the young men who are watching us right now, do you have any advice to them, particularly the ones who are struggling and aren't sure if they're going to get that second chance?
Right. For the young men out there that are struggling, that trying to figure out where you are in the universe. I mean, what defines you? What are you going to do? What are you going to be? I was in space with people we used to fight against. We had Russians and Germans and French, African American, Asian American. I mean, you look at every demographic, it was there. And the thing is about being in space with people, if you don't work together, you die. You die. If I flip the wrong switch, if Yuri flips the wrong switch, if Hans flips the wrong switch, we're gone. And the same thing down here on the planet. We have got to get our crap together, man, and work together as a team, because we're going to perish. And the isms and the things and the, you did this, you said this, it's noise when you think of the bigger picture. Because that 10-kilometer diameter asteroid that's coming, it doesn't have the black folks' name on it, it doesn't have the white folks' name on it, it doesn't have the Chinese people. It's all of us. We all get taken out. So if we're not doing the things that we need to do, whether it's going to school, whether it's learning a trade, whether it's being inspired, getting outside and just enjoying the beauty of nature, which gives you so many gifts and joy and takes the, getting off the screen, we all are on it, but getting a break from the screen to just absorb the beauty around us, and just being out in the woods for 15 minutes a day. I think they've done research on this. It calms you down. It makes you feel more connected to something, the planet. And if you do that with other people, you're connecting to those people while you're connecting to the planet. So get out, move, do things, eat healthy, enjoy. What's that? Go to space? Is that what he said? But I mean, we're all astronauts, man. We're all in space right now, going around the sun on planet Earth, so, and no matter how bad you have it, someone else has it worse. And so just know that you have, you have a brain, you have the ability to do incredible things if you use it properly. And if you align yourself with the right people, not the haters, not the people that want to get you in trouble with themselves, but the right people that want to do positive things to uplift everybody,
Yeah.
Get with those men and women in the yellow hat that have your back no matter what. When I was thinking about getting in the astronaut corps and applying and everything, I had to make my circle smaller, because there were people that wanted to do things that would have probably got me in jail. Oh. And so make sure that you're around the right people that are not going to put you in a situation that ends you up in jail or dead or whatever it is. Right. So, and look, the three of us right here, we believe in you. That's Absolutely. Why we're doing this. We believe in you, and you can do this, and just get out there and make it happen. Get some help if you need help.
And I love what you said too, for so many reasons, but part of what I've heard astronauts talk about as well is when you're up in space, and I don't know if this is your experience, but when you're up in space and you look down and you see, this is it. I mean, you're in this incredible vastness, this vacuum of space. And here you are, there's one planet that we all share. This is it. This is the one place that we have to live. And we have to make because it doesn't care about us. The Earth is going to do what it's going to do. And so we have to do our part to try to make sure it's a livable planet and a healthy planet and a place where all of us can be safe. Wow. This is all we have. This one planet is the only thing that we have to share.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, you're a climate guy. You've done work in that arena, and when you look down at the planet as you go around it every 90 minutes at 17,500 miles per hour, you see forest fires in the Amazon. You see sedimentation coming down in rivers. You see all these things that can affect our livelihood on the planet. But when I'm up there looking and working with these people from all around the world, you get this thing called the overview effect or the orbital perspective. Right. So you see all of this stuff and it changes the way you feel connected to the universe and everyone on it. And so, space does change people, radically when you get home, because you want to make it better for everyone. So, and I thought that my technical assignment, which was to install this $2 billion laboratory with the robotic arm, would be my aha moment. But my aha moment was when I floated over to the Russian segment with a bag of rehydrated vegetables, and they had like the crab and the meat. And so we're having this intergalactic smorgasbord with people we used to fight against, going around the planet every 90 minutes, floating food to each other's mouths while listening to Sade's Smooth Operator. My mind is blown, right? I mean, and you're having this meal with people just from around the universe. So if we can do that in space, go find someone that you don't think you've never talked to, and go buy them a burger and sit down and talk and have a conversation in a civil way, because that's the only way that we're going to make it through this stuff that we're going through, is to have these heart-to-heart conversations. And we don't have to agree on the same thing, but we have to appreciate each other,
right,
and care about each other, because that's the only way we're going to get through any of this.
Yeah. That's such an important message, Leland. And we could continue to just get these gems from you all day long. I wish we could, but we know you have a million other things to do. But we like to ask our guests the final 3 questions. First one, we typically ask, what's your favorite movie or TV show about sports? But maybe you get like a 2-parter for this first question. Maybe your favorite TV show or movie about space, and your favorite TV show or movie about sports.
Okay, the movie is The Martian.
Yeah.
Ooh, good one.
Matt Damon.
He was left for dead, but he had to science the F up, right? And figure out using his brain to figure out how he was going to survive and make it home. And his crew, his team, was like, when they found out that he was gone, that he was alive, they came back and got him. Exactly. And so, Martian. What's the next one, Kevin?
Favorite TV show or movie about sports?
About sports, The Blind Side.
That was filmed in my high school. Fun fact.
Blind Side, man. That's powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah. Talk about second chances. Once again, characters who, they face those setbacks, they face that adversity, but they didn't give up.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So, all right. When you're down, or when it sounds like Sade might be on that list. But what's the music that gets you through the good times and the bad times?
Ain't no mountain high enough, right?
Ain't low enough. It's got the highs and the lows right there in the lyrics.
Oh, it's the whole spectrum of how we live our lives, right? But you can figure out nothing's going to stop you, right, from getting to you. That's a great song. I like jazz. Robert Glasper, Reckoner was a remix that he did that I just love, and just I like all music that has talent in it.
Right, eclectic, right? But that's the thing. Right. Yeah, so many talented musicians.
Yeah.
All right. What about comfort food? You're from Virginia. I don't know what the Lynchburg specialties are, but if you're having a bad day, you could go to the fridge or the pantry and pull one thing out, or order something off the menu at your favorite restaurant. What would that comfort food be for you?
So lately, I've got this Blackstone grill that gets really hot avocado oil, and I'll get like some fresh shrimp and some sea bass and cook that with a bunch of vegetables and make a rice bowl, some cilantro rice, put that all in the bowl and just, that's
I know you weren't
latest
eating. You weren't eating much of that in space, were you?
No. I mean, the closest thing to that was the shrimp cocktail, which everyone loves because it's spicy, because you lose your taste buds in space. Some people do. I didn't lose it, but, and then, I mean, a good, burger every now, inside out cheeseburger is always a good thing. You put the cheese inside, cook it, and you bite into it,
Ooh.
Yeah. We wanted that while we were in space. We always have this moment of space, like about a day before you're coming home. Everyone's saying what you want to get, the first thing you want to eat when you get down there. And mine was the inside out cheeseburger and a slice of Chicago style pizza. Because you just can't make that in space.
Now I've got my next few days of meals planned out. That all sounds so good.
Little healthy, little in between, and a little go for it.
Well, Leland, thank you so much. I mean, when it comes to the core message, I think that you've left us with which is to live a life of grit, live a life of grace, and to capitalize on second chances. I'm going to remember that and take that with me throughout the rest of this week and moving forward. And I know our listeners, will too. And, to be a man in a yellow hat, to be a woman in a yellow hat to others, who might need that inspiration or who might need that direction. I feel charged to do that as well. So, you're incredible. You're a legend for what you've done on the field, on the rest of the earth, and then in space. So thank you for coming out to Low Lights to tell us all about that. Really,
thank you so much, Leland.
Hey, thank you both for sharing this message to the universe so more people can be inspired and motivated to get through those low lights to take it to the next level. So Godspeed on the journey, gentlemen, and thanks again.
Likewise. All right.
Thanks.